Okay, we're going to finish up. If you wanted to get a refreshment while we're talking, we're just going to go over the details of the day. We good? Okay.
Thank you to Mrs. Woolery for organizing the snacks and refreshments. She organized those. Thank you.
All right, so we're up for April 30th at 1 o'clock. And that is the date. With God's help, nothing will change that, and we will go forward. The day of First Holy Communion, all the children will be involved in processing in. You will see your child come in, and they will start on the outside of church if the weather permits. If it does not, for any reason, we come through the bottom of the church and up and out. And so that will be the beauty of that. We give everybody's name tags a spot on the pews so that each family has their own pew that day, much like we did for reconciliation, so that you don't have to get there early and there's no worries. We do it kind of as a random draw, just to be fair. And we'll, of course, have extra seating on the sides for as much family as you want to bring, or even back in the choir area if necessary. The cry room will be available that day, and along with that procession, I always try to remind myself to say this each year, there are siblings that are older, and if they would like to serve, just send me a note, and we'll take as many servers as we can, because the more the family participates, the more precious it is to the children. They love having their siblings there to help serve.
I'm just going to mention
Yes.
one thing about that. So we can, because there's, I think there's 46 families or 45. We might have to split the front pews in half. So, but there'll be plenty of room on the sides for families, because I think with the number of kids, because all the kids sit in the front pews.
And from years past, this is starting probably when I first started here at Christ the King 25 years ago, there was this big push to have, they wanted to see their child. And Christ the King being a huge cathedral, and it's very difficult to see if you're not in the spot that's right up front, we do have the children receive so that you can see that. So they come up the side onto the altar, they meet Father in the middle, and he kind of greets them as they come along, and they bow, and he says the body of Christ, and they get it on their hand, and they turn directly out to the whole church so that you can see them place the body of Christ on their tongue. From there, they go down, and normally we've done the wine, but due to COVID, I'm assuming that we still will be no wine at this point. So you will see that. We also have photographers there on both sides of the pillars, catching a picture of the exact moment that they received, so that you can see the expression and the moment of pure joy for them at that point. The dress, there's not a dress code, but generally this is what's been worn. The girls wear white or off-white, normally a long dress. I've had shorter dresses as well. There are no gloves, and no purses are brought because they can't receive the Eucharist on a glove. They need to have their bare hands, and to bring a purse would only be a distraction for any of them. The tie becomes a bit of a distraction for the little guys, and the veil, but we deal with that. So what I tell them is, whatever your parents decide you're going to wear, if you're going to wear the veil of flowers, just leave it alone. It'll be perfect when Mom sends you off. If your dad adjusts your tie or Mama does, you just leave it alone. And we try to keep them buttoned so the tie stays down in there, because I've learned over the years the tie will sneak up and it will be, So keep that little button going. So generally the boys will wear either a navy blue jacket and khakis, or they'll wear a suit, or I've even had the boys all dressed in white, which was traditional many years ago. So whatever you choose to wear is perfectly acceptable. Jennifer, retreat day, you want to go over that?
One thing I was going to say, and Mrs. Schutte always mentions this to the kids, but I think it's important for parents to hear too. I'm sure several of them will have new shoes for the day, and it's always really important to go out and scuff those bottom of those shoes up, because when they get on that altar, it's really slippery. So instead of having those slick shoes, like go scuff them up on the bottom, so
And
they have a little more
girl shoes,
traction.
Yeah, the girl shoes too, because you'll see them tuck their heels off, and then the shoes will flop off, and that's a
Yeah.
thing. So give them
Give them a good
quick
run
around the block.
Yeah.
Retreat day is something that's very exciting. We do that the Friday before First Communion on the 29th. It's all day long. They'll come in the morning and they will bring their scrapbooks that they've made that day. We'll talk more about that in a second. And then we do a few activities that morning. They go to reconciliation again while they're at school. And we have a nice lunch for them that the homeroom mothers plan and serve, and it's really nice. And then the afternoon is spent doing several different activities that, crafts and those types of things that they really like to do. Every child will get a t-shirt to wear to school that day, so they all have the same t-shirt, has everyone's name on it. As far as the scrapbooks go, I know that sometimes it could be noted maybe the dreaded scrapbook, but I promise you, and it's funny because my child will be in 2nd grade next year, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do this now. But I went to school here, and I still have my scrapbook from 2nd grade. So it's really, really special. I pull it out and show the kids every year, and I'm like, and I've done almost the exact same things as they still do today. So it's fun to share that with them, and it's a nice memento, and it's nice to keep something as a memory for that.
And if you have the child that doesn't like doing that, just take it a little bit at a time.
Right.
And whatever you put in there, let it be. If they like it, if you want to over-decorate it, that's fine too. It's obvious whose mother's is a crafter. Let's just put it that way. But we do tell them, anything we do, we'll say to them, now listen, when you bring this in, we're going to share them with everybody. And every now and then we'll get one look, somebody that just brings in something, like a spiral notebook, for instance. Oh, man. But, they're so proud of it, it's there, so let it be.
Right.
And
this should not be a fight. This should be a joyful experience.
Yeah.
Which I know all things like that are always joyful.
And just
probably like the President Project.
Yeah.
That was probably just.
But let them tuck in their little special things, and you can put a pocket in the back, and they can keep their little cards. Or I told them to keep their poem. And one of mine said he lost his poem. I said we have plenty extra. We'll get you another one. So
Put your certificate,
anything.
It's just a nice spot to have this one thing with all that stuff and put it on a shelf and pull it out every so often and say.
And I have 3 of them in my room that I meant to bring this evening. I'm so sorry. Mrs. Tordy's children were so kind to send theirs over, and the Nallies. If you want to stop by my room, they're in my room to take a look at them, but really, there's no formula to do this. It's what you feel comfortable with. So, and
so we bring them in that morning, and we'll usually come over here and set them all out, and all the kids get to look at everybody's book, and they love to do that. So that is exciting. I believe on the back of this page, the Sweet Homeroom Mothers came up with this kind of reminders and deadlines for a couple of things that your children will be involved in, or you need to turn in pictures for a slideshow that's really sweet, and I'm sure the slideshow will be shared with all the families afterwards, and it's sweet to see all their pictures. April 10th, First Communion individual photos are taken. This is something outside of Christ the King. This isn't something that's
we provide. Yeah, the parents do this, which is
this
great.
is a totally different photographer that I think a sign-up genius will be sent out, and you can sign up if you want to. You don't have to sign up. They're completely outside of what we're doing, but they're beautiful photos, so by all means. April 12th, we're going to take a full class photo during the day. They need to wear their red uniform polo. If they forget, I'm sure we can find a red uniform polo somewhere. But
if you don't have one, don't buy it. Don't buy it.
Yeah. We'll figure something out. And I believe this is probably used for the spring fling basket, or it's something that your parents can buy. It's a sweet photo with all the kids. We've done it different ways in the church. Where else have we done them? We've done them in the gym. We've done them in the... Anywho. April 28th, the Last Supper, where we do a little reenactment of the Last Supper. That's during the school day. Parents are welcome to come. We'll send more information about that. It's usually in the morning about 9 or 10 o'clock. But we'll send more information about that. And then the 29th is the retreat day. So...
and you're welcome, even if you're not... participating and doing one of the activities, or you're not in charge of something, you're welcome to come. You can bring a grandparent, you can come just to watch. The morning, it's more, we're looking at the scrapbook, we watch a First Communion movie, we have things that we do like in our classroom, so there's not much to watch that day, or that morning. But in the afternoon, the crafts are fun to watch, and they're all spread out, and it's so sweet because they're so excited, they're beside themselves. And then they'll take all their things home with them, except for the chalice. They make their own chalice, and we have to fire it in the kiln after they've made it. So there'll be a lot of sweet little trinkets that they'll be directly involved in.
And the 29th is Grandparents' Day, and they've made sure that we can do both, that we can have time on retreat and have time for the grandparents out here too. So they planned it so grandparents that were in town for communion could come to school.
That's good. Perfect.
One other thing I forgot to mention, when we talked about a photographer being there, at the conclusion of the Mass, we will have the kids, they're going to be trained in doing it. We're going to start our practices in a few weeks, so I'm sure you're going to hear them say, we're going over to church, and we practice how they walk in and sit, and where to sit and how to sit. At the conclusion of Mass, we'll have the kids go to the side of the altar, and we'll have each class go up for a class photo. So if you guys wouldn't mind waiting until all the class photos were taken before, finding your child, because then someone's missing from the photo. Not a good thing. So, does anyone have any questions? If you all do have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, because this is exciting, because this is the first, I guess this has been 3 years since we've done this
together.
Normally, or that we've done it together.
Yes, so your classes, they're going to be so excited.
No masks, I'm so excited for that. It's just going to be a perfect day.
A perfect day, yes.
We're looking forward to it.
Yes, all right. And if you do have any questions, just come see us. If you want to see the scrapbooks, you can stop by my room anytime. And continue just to encourage your children to talk about what we're talking about at school, so you know what's happening. I know when you ask them, what you do today, nothing. I can guarantee you.
Most days.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we watch a lot of it. All right, well, feel free to mix among yourselves. If you have anything you need to talk to us about, feel free. And so
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much again for all you do.